So things are going parabolic with gold and silver. Now let's raise our imaginary wine glass and give each other a toast. A toast to everyone in this audience. This is a clear signal that the dollar is getting debased like never before. Now, every time gold and silver rises in price, it doesn't mean it becomes more valuable. It just means currencies, especially the dollar, they are losing a ton of purchasing power. Now, we are witnessing what I call the great repricing, where the real value of things are being revealed. But I want us to focus on the commodity war aspect. Now, this is where countries, central banks, and investors, they are rushing around to protect themselves. And now precious metals are the focus. US GDP numbers are out, and on the surface, it looks impressive. GDP rose by 4.3% in Q4. But ladies and gents, don't be bamboozled by this number. It is not real economic growth. The books haven't been balanced for a very, very long time. Now, this phony growth isn't being driven by true economic activity. Many of us know the answer by now. But if you're new here, this is going to blow your mind. The US economy is surviving on the charity of global creditors. Now, deficit spending today accounts for $1.88 trillion. That's almost 6% of US spending, meaning without all these borrowed money, the US economy would be in an instant recession. Now, this is the basis of why gold and silver are soaring to the moon. Investors realize that deficit spending can never go down. In fact, it will have to rise in both nominal and percentage terms. The US might be borrowing $1.88 trillion today, but it has to increase. By the end of Trump's term, the number will be horrendous. People realize that Trump is simply juggling too many things. The plates are starting to fall down and smash. And even the Fed is starting to relaunch QE. They are buying up $40 billion worth of T-bills every single month. The tsunami of cash is building. There's simply no way for Trump to rebuild supply chains, fight an AI war with China, and reshaw chip factories without spending a ton of money. The boring is not going to stop, not by a long shot. As a result, gold and silver, they are flying all the way to the stratosphere. Gold, for example, is on the brink of smashing $4,500 an ounce, and that will set a new record for physical bullion. And thanks to Trump intimidating Venezuela, geopolitical risk is back on the menu. We are literally on the brink of a new war. It's almost one new conflict every single year. Now, gold has rallied by 70% this year. It's crazy. It's over 3 times the performance of the S&P, and that alone is very telling. Investors don't believe in U.S. assets because the underlying economy isn't really growing. Merry Christmas, my friends. This is what we have been talking about over the last 2 years. We knew the dollar was doomed, and today's price action is pure vindication. Precious metals, gold and silver, are simply playing catch-up. Washington just can't stop spending money. We have already reached the inflection point where the Federal Reserve has begun printing money. And when you embark on QE, you are artificially creating money from nothing. It's make-believe digits that just springs into existence. But that drives up the supply of money. Even Scott Besson knows the dangers of QE. Fed began what we call QE, or large-scale asset purchases. They went in the market, started buying long bonds. You create liquidity. You take safe assets out of the market, long-duration safe assets. And then the people who receive that money would buy more risky assets. Ben Bernanke famously said when he was asked what's the purpose of QE, he told everyone, go buy equities. We are officially in the danger zone, in the twilight zone. The mean buying of gold haven't even started yet. It's mainly central banks today, even retail investors. They're all centered around Asia and China. And once Western investors wake up to reality, it's game over. Even more dollars will get dumped, and even more demand will flow into precious metals. Now, I'm not saying that things will move in a straight line. They never do. We could have a correction in a month or even a week later, but the numbers are unsustainable. It's getting ridiculous at this point. Now, according to the CRFB, interest cost on the debt alone could reach over $2.2 trillion by 2035. In fact, this estimate is very conservative. In reality, we are at $1.2 trillion today. In 10 years, this number will easily exceed 2.5 trillion. Now, the spending by Washington is going to outlast even the Trump administration. Even if terrorists continues, the income from importers isn't going to make a dent. More than 50% of new borrowing will be used to settle just the interest payments alone. This shell game can't go on for long. The big boys can see this coming, so they are reallocating away. They are buying to gold and especially silver. Now, these are much smaller markets compared to US bonds, which is monstrous. And because of the debt situation, the US government has only one option. And it's good news for gold, is good news for silver. The reckoning is here now. Endless spending is a problem. But another big problem is the average interest rate the government is paying. We are at an all-time high of 3.4%, 4%. And this leaves Trump with only one dark option. Interest rates have to be driven down, so even more borrowing will be shifted to short-term T-bills. Now that is as good as injecting cash into the system. The borrowing will be even more frequent. Refinancing will be done in a matter of months, not years, months. And a big shout out to our sponsor today, Indigo Precious Metals. When it comes to buying gold and silver, I trust Indigo Precious Metals in Singapore. They have made investing in precious metals safe, fast, easy, and simple for both small and large-scale buying. I've been stacking gold for over a decade now, and I've learned two things when buying. You want to buy authentic gold bullion, and you want to buy it at the lowest premium possible to stretch your dollars even further. And I'm glad to say I found both of this at Indigo Precious Metals. Indigo Precious Metals is a leading retailer in Singapore. They specialize in physical gold, silver, and platinum. They are my one-stop shop when it comes to buying bullion. Their prices are sharp, and they have the best brands on sale, and I can test the gold on the spot. So, if you're looking to make your first gold purchase, Indigo Precious Metals is the best place to start. Whether it's 1 ounce or 1 kilo, this is the reputable dealer you are looking for. So, take action today. Click on the link below and enjoy a discount on your first purchase with the code SEANFEW. Start your gold stacking journey today. In 2026, we'll see a very desperate Trump squeezing the Fed to cut rates. Besson will be on national TV demanding rate cuts. I bet on that. There's only one page left in this playbook, but I can hear the protest already. But Sean, isn't the Federal Reserve supposed to be independent? Now, if you believe that I have a bridge to sell you, you must still believe in Santa Claus flying around on a slate. Now, Trump himself is going to have massive influence. Trump is going to plant a loyalist in a Fed. Anyone who disagrees with him will never be Fed chair. Now, that's what he said. Basically, he wants a yes man to replace power. He wants his fat chair to lower interest rates even if the market is doing well. Nothing has been said about inflation. He wants an eternal upward slope and a rally to continue forever. This is voodoo economics. This has just confirmed a crazy melt-up in gold and silver. Trump is willing to sacrifice the dollar to keep the BS going indefinitely. Everyone needs to own assets today. Now, for silver, this gets even more interesting. Yes, silver is a monetary metal, but it is also an industrial resource. And what do we have today? We are in a big supply chain war. Now, if you hold silver, you are the biggest winner of 2025. Silver has gone well past $70 an ounce, hitting nearly $72 at a peak. It's a big gain of 140% and double the performance of gold. Compared to the S&P, silver has performed 8 times better than the stock index. A big part of the gain was from October's short squeeze. And that was true. There wasn't enough physical metal around, and industries needed their silver. Now, of course, when I see parabolic moves like this, I tend to be very careful. A pullback to $60 is very real, and it's possible because silver is such a small market. We could get big whipsaw actions over the next few months or maybe even the entire of 2026. But I want to focus on a long-term bill of silver. This is not just an industrial metal or an investment. It's now a strategic resource that the world needs. Both the US and China need silver in the years and the decades to come. Now let's look at the facts about silver. The US government has designated it as a critical mineral for the country, and this happened just a few months back after the rare earth scare. Trump is in panic mode. He cannot afford for the US to lose their silver supply. You need it for critical industries he wants to reshore, and this, of course, includes EVs, batteries, and semiconductors. But here's the crisis. The US faces two fundamental challenges. They import more silver than they mine, a ton of which comes from Canada and Mexico. Secondly, the US power grid is in shambles. Trump needs a ton of energy generation, and he cannot ignore renewable power forever, which means solar panels are needed. And what is the key component of solar cells? It's silver. This is just from the US side of the equation. Other powers in the world, including the EU and BRICS, they will also need renewable power. China is also going to corner the global silver market as much as they can. The US will be trying to grab all these supplies under fire, which means even more money will be spent in the endeavor. The debt problem compounds, and silver and gold suddenly becomes much more valuable. Now, the supply and demand picture of silver has always been difficult. Mine production has been dropping over the years. Only recycling has picked up because that process is cheaper. So there's not much fresh silver entering the market. In 2025, supply will just be 1.03 billion ounces. But look at the demand. Nearly 1.15 billion will be needed by global markets. And this includes investment coins, jewelry, and industrial applications. And this puts a natural squeeze on the market that causes the deficit of 11% on the silver supply. And now that demand is shooting up. This puts even more upwards pressure on the price. Now, there's a common refrain we keep hearing. Why doesn't the US simply build more silver mines, dig out the ores, and then refine them? Guys, it's not that simple. Thanks to the tariffs, costs in the US are now extremely elevated. You need to pay workers more. The equipments like excavators cost a ton. Plus, to build the mine itself, you need a boatload of steel and copper, all of which are 20 to 30% higher today. It takes anywhere from 10 to 20 years to build a silver mine from scratch. Just try fast-tracking a permit in the US and you'll get a shock off your life. Then you need to raise money through debt to finance building out the mine. It's not that simple. The US does have silver refineries, but the cost of turning raw silver into pure metal isn't cheap. Trump will still have to rely on imports of the precious metal. It's not just the US scrambling for silver. China is also scrambling for silver. Investors, industries, and probably the central government, they all want to stockpile silver. Shanghai is China's commodity hub. You can buy contracts there for silver and take delivery of the physical metal. And that is exactly what's happening. People are rushing to take physical delivery. Now, the G7 themselves have so little silver, they are buying supplies from China. In late November, it pushed the entire market into backwardation. Buying silver now is much more expensive than buying silver tomorrow. Even China, which is a major producer of silver, is facing shortages. Western money is flooding into the Chinese exchange for the metal. The Chinese government, for now, they have allowed the flow of silver to stabilize the global market. But therein lies Beijing's trump card. If silver becomes an ultra-critical resource, China can always ban exports. They could refuse to export silver and just use it for their own industries. Then we could see an even bigger spike happen. China has restricted rare earths before. So it is 1,000% possible for this to happen if needed. They have already issued new export controls on silver from 2026 onwards. So brace for impact. China is telegraphing the punch. There's a reason why they're holding gold, and next up will be silver. But I want to take this chance to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. And hey, we made it in one piece. And this reminds me of a song. When you wish upon a star, 5,000 gold is not that far. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Merry Christmas, everyone. And I'll be back on the 26th. Have a good one, ladies and gents. 5,000 gold is coming, boys. It's coming.